Hey guys, it's PinkPuppy48 here, and I'm back with another video. And I want to say that I know I haven't been making these videos where I'm talking. I just really haven't had the time for them. Second, as you can tell from the corner, this is an AFMA related video. And I know I really haven't done any AFMA related videos since the Emerald Secret music video that I've made. And yeah, but the reason why this time is because I feel like I want to analyze all these clues that Jason has been leaving for us in his tweets. And yeah, so I'm gonna start off by analyzing his tweets. Is that he first tweeted out a picture of a disc that said "When AFMA 1/3." Now, that led a lot of people to believe that Mystreet Season 6 would come out Friday, April the 13th. But, as we know, Jessica uploaded a Sims 4 video that day. So, the question is, when will the next Mystreet Season 6 come out? And my theory is, as you can see, April 28th in this comment. I'll explain more later. I have a feeling that is going to be the Mystreet Season 6 release date. Anyways, moving on, Jason also tweeted out 3/42. 3:42. Now, I know this, it's kind of making me a little suspicious because the number 342 is right here. So I'm a little confused about that, and people also thought that was going to be the Mystreet Season 6 release time. Now, moving on even more, Jason also tweeted out 15 until midnight. Now, if you Google that, you'll just get the movie 15 till midnight, which has nothing to do with Mystreet Season 6, I believe, but if you put that into the YouTube search, you'll get a video that says 15 until midnight by a channel called 15 until midnight, and it's about a 30-second long video, and you might want to turn up your volume because there are bells in that video, and they're the bells that you hear at Season 1, Episode 100, the finale of my Minecraft Diaries Season 1. Now, if you haven't seen Minecraft Diaries and you're new to AFMA, she used to have Season 1 and all the other seasons of Minecraft Diaries on a playlist on her channel, but they're gone for some reason. But if you Google Minecraft Diaries Season 1, Episode 100, it will pop up, and you just click on that video, and you want to fast forward a bit, not too far that you get all the way to the end, but just about a little bit towards the end of the video. But you'll get to the part where AFMA is going into the Irene dimension, or she's summoned there by what Zeid is holding, and you'll hear this eerie organ music at the beginning, and it shows the giant cathedral that's in the Lady Irene dimension. And later, after that music has stopped, you'll begin to hear those bells. Now, those bells, there's been a lot of evidence that Minecraft Diaries is related to Mystreet, because as you guys know, in the Emerald Secret, there were two things that hinted that Minecraft Diaries is related to Mystreet. So if you notice, when Aaron passed out after he was stabbed by AFMA and he fell off a cliff, when he passed out, he was in a room. He was on a bed and he was in a room. And that room, if you have seen Minecraft Diaries Season 2, and you've seen the episode where something happens to Aaron, I'm not going to spoil for you guys that haven't seen it yet, that room was actually the house that AFMA and Aaron lived in on an island that they found while they were searching for an island that Travis had a map of in a book. And that was the island that they were looking for, and they started building houses there. And fun story is that island had something to do with Lady Irene, so that's why they went there. But that island is now known as the Phoenix Capital in Minecraft Diaries Season 3, and that room was the house that Aaron and Athma lived in when they had Lilith. And so that shows that Mystreet was connected to Minecraft Diaries in a small way. But what made it more intertwined even more was that a strange woman was talking to Aaron, who looked a lot like Lady Irene, but her voice was much lower than you've seen in the flashbacks. So I'm assuming that's going to be Lady Irene because she obviously looks very much like her. So that shows that something is connecting Mystreet to Minecraft Diaries in some way. Now, moving on, in that video, I've heard if you brighten up the screen, you will see the Lady Irene symbol. Now, this wasn't possible for me. I have no idea, but what I did was I downloaded the video off of YouTube, stuck it into iMovie, and I put a filter on it. Now, I'm going to brighten up my screen for you guys because this is kind of hard to see. I put a filter on it, and as you can see, it's this dreamy filter down here, and you can already see the Lady Irene symbol right there. And you can see it here, too, that the Lady Irene symbol is visible. And that's how I found out. Now, if you can't see it on my screen and it's too dark for you, you might want to turn up your own brightness. Going back to that comment, this was a comment that Jason put in the comments of that video, and it says, August 5th, 327 RS. There's no mistaking it. Zeid's path is clear. On April 28th, 342, RS Zeid will collide with the planet. Our physicists are calling it a planet killer. Nothing will escape its destruction. Not even our great city of Zi'tah. Hala, my son, was just born, and I already know he will never grow into a man. Many have already left the academy. They see little use in continuing their research given our new restraints on life. Maya and I will not give up yet. We will not stop our studies on Anima manipulation. Maybe, someday, we will find a way to protect our son. 3 more rotations. We have 15 years left. Now, I'm going to lower my brightness because I want to save my battery, but, these first 2 references are more logical than, Final Fantasy or anything between Minecraft Diaries. Well, not that last part, but it's nothing related to the other references in this comment. But if you subtract 342 from 327, you get basically 15. And if you've seen my Minecraft Diaries Season 2, Episode 1, and Minecraft Diaries Season 1, Episode 100, you will know that 15 years in the Lady Irene dimension is actually 15... Wait, no, I'm sorry, I said that wrong. 15 minutes in the Lady Irene dimension is 15 years in the human world. So every minute in that realm is a year in the human realm. And also, if you notice down here, it says 3 more rotations. We have 15 years left. And if you know multiplication with 3s and 5s, you will know that 3 times 5 is 15, 2 times 5 is 10, 1 times 5 is 5. So that means that for every rotation, there's 5 years. Moving on now, seeing that this says Zeid's path is clear, Zeid will collide with our planet. Now, this is our first Final Fantasy reference. Now, the Final Fantasy game this is coming from is Final Fantasy 11, and Final Fantasy 11 was the game that Athma met Jason on. And there's actually some fun information about Zeid. Now, this is his backstory. He is actually a enemy boss in the game. And it says, 26 years before the start of the games, I was a member of a platoon of Gallica that had been sent from the Republic of Bastok to fight a number of powerful monsters, summoned by the Shadow Lord. During their journey, they were attacked by a large number of monsters. Completely outnumbered, they called from assistance from a nearby squad to no avail, as the only survivor, Zeid swore revenge for his fallen comrades, taking the name Dark Steel Hurricane. Zeid carved the symbol of his platoon on his forehead, and proceeded to murder a number of political leaders who had a hand in the demise of his troop. Mission complete, Zeid made his way to Xcarabard, unknowingly followed by Clara Bester, captain of the Mithril Musketeers. She discovered that, and there's another part to it. She discovered that the demon was manipulating Zeid, feeding his anger and hate towards the humans in order to turn him into a powerful soldier for the Shadow Lord. Clara rescued Zeid, destroying the demon and the crystal that gave it power. Discovering the truth behind Zeid's actions, Clara offered him a position in the Mithril Musketeers. She promised his secret was safe with her. Now, I want to analyze for a second because it said that he was going to be turned into a powerful soldier for the Shadow Lord. So we do know that Minecraft Diaries and Mystreet is somewhat based off of Final Fantasy in some way. And so there's a Shadow Lord. Maybe this could be referring, maybe in the way that Jason is using it, he could be referring to the Shadow Lord of Minecraft Diaries. Maybe Zeid was created by the Shadow Lord to destroy the land that they're living in, such as Zi'tah. So that could be explaining why Jason was using the name Zeid. He could have used it because obviously it says he was a resource for the Shadow Lord because he was going to turn him into a powerful soldier, but this lady, Clara Bester, saved him. And another thing that stands out to me here is Mithril Musketeers. If you notice in Minecraft Diaries, Aphmau did have a sword that was called the Mithril Sword, and it was a white and very light blue sword. Now, I'm not sure what that sword has to do with any of this. I think it's just maybe something that was in a mod, maybe. I have no idea, but I do know that there was a sword called the Mithril Sword. And another thing about Zeid is that Zeid is a Gallica in Final Fantasy XI. The player has to meet him to get a sword in which they have to kill 100 creatures with. When they do, they will be able to use the Dark Knight job outside of teaching the way of Dark Knight. He is involved in Bastok's history and a member of the Mithril Musketeers. For 2 generations, Zeid is the final boss of Bastok missions. An alter ego or cipher of Zeid may be summoned by players to assist them in combat under the trust system. Now, this sword, I actually looked it up, that you get from him. It's actually called the Sword of Darkness. Well, it's called the Blade of Darkness, but I had a feeling that it was going to look like the sword that Aaron used in Minecraft Diaries. But I actually looked up what it looks like, and it's actually not. It doesn't look like at all like the sword that Aaron used. This Blade of Darkness is a long, skinny blade that is black, and it doesn't have the 2 parts above the handguard that go along with the sword, like shown in Aaron's sword. They're flat out like a normal sword. So I have a feeling that this sword has nothing to do with any future references at all. But I don't know anything about Bastok really, but I do know that possibly Zeid will be some kind of force the Shadow Lord will use to destroy something. And again, going back to this comment, it's saying that we'll collide with the planet. Now, as you guys know, there are only very few things that can collide with Earth. A star exploding, like the sun, for example. People say that the sun might explode in about 4 billion years from now. And a meteor coming towards Earth and crashing on it. And secondly, comets, I believe, they don't collide with planets or anything. They really just go around them. But maybe this force of a comet might be coming to Earth or whatever. I'm not sure if comets exactly hit planets, but I do know that they orbit around the sun, which causes them to melt just by a little bit. And the sun's gravitational force throws comets back out into space. And they don't come back till several years later. But another thing involving comets towards Mystreet was this picture here. And I'm going to zoom it in for you guys because it's kind of hard to read. But yeah, this newspaper article that was seen in a Aphmau blooper video says comets and the Earth. What would happen if a comet were to impact the Earth? Would humanity as we know it cease to exist? Would we see a shift in the environment? The answers may be closer than we think. An international group of scientists have located the remains of a prehistoric civilization far in the Western Ocean, revealing an account documenting the patterns of a comet approaching the Earth getting closer each year. According to the findings, the comet was on a direct collision with the Earth. However, when the predicted time came, the comet never appeared. The comet ceased to exist. Scholars of the ancient civilization attribute its disappearance to a mysterious light seen in the sky near its annual arrival. The origin of the light source remains unknown. What forces of nature or power could have been strong enough to subdue a comet? Perhaps it wasn't a comet, says the lead scientist of the international expedition. The historical record from this era is unreliable. Perhaps it was simply the human imagination. And it says A right there. Now, as the comment that Jason wrote says about these scientists, I have a feeling that either Dem and Maya are going to be the group of scientists researching this comet, or they're going to be the scholars found in this prehistoric civilization. And thinking back, prehistoric civilization, Minecraft Diaries appears to follow into a medieval fantasy world similar to Mystreet, except it's not modern day, it's medieval. And there's only about 2 forms of a monarchy in that world. There's the King of Tula, and there's the Werewolf Kings for each pack. Now, I have a feeling more that Dem and Maya are the scholars of the ancient civilization that they're talking about here, more than they are the scientists, because of another reference about them. I believe that's coming up soon, but I'm not sure exactly what the comet has to do with anything, but I believe that because, as I mentioned, as a planet killer, Zeid's name was probably used to refer as something that was going to destroy, because the Shadow Lord, aka Shad, was the destroyer. So this comet is probably some kind of impendable doom. Going back to the comment, and so our next reference is our great city of Zi'tah. This is another, yet again, Final Fantasy XI reference. Zi'tah is actually known as the Sanctuary of Zi'tah. And Zi'tah actually leads into an area called Romave. And as we know, Romave is spelled in Mystreet as Romeave. Here it's spelled Romaeve. And I'm not sure if I spelled it correctly the first time. The way that we know it is Romeave. Yes. And Romave in the Sanctuary of Zi'tah, I don't know what they really have anything to do with, but I have a feeling that something more than what's already going on will involve the Romave family in Mystreet Season 6, because, as we know, Gareth has an inhumane amount of strength, as seen in Falcon Claw University, because Gareth only intended to punch that guy as if he was just going to be punched in the face and fall over a bit. But no, he punched him so hard that he knocked into another tree. So I have a feeling that something's going to involve Gareth with his Forever Potion more than just what's involving it now, such as Garth almost turning into a werewolf because of Aaron's Ultima eyes. And another thing about the Sanctuary of Zi'tah and Romave, and here there's a picture of Romave, and it's really just this wasteland-looking place. And another thing about the Sanctuary of Zi'tah and Romave is that there's audio played in these areas, and the audio is actually called Sanctuary of Zi'tah for the Sanctuary of Zi'tah, and Battle Theme and Battle Theme 3 are played in that area. Now, there's nothing suspicious about Battle Themes, those two songs. Nothing really suspicious about it there, but the Sanctuary of Zi'tah, that song is actually, it has acoustics. It's played by a guitar, and as we know, Aaron has a secret passion of playing the guitar. And another thing about Romave is that it leads into this place called the Hall of Gods. I don't really know anything about it. I haven't played the Final Fantasy games. I don't know what, maybe something involving the Romave family will involve Lady Irene, because as you know, the Romave family are descendants of Esmond the Protector. So maybe this Hall of Gods might have something to do with it. And in Romave, there's really only two audios that are played, Battle Theme and Battle Theme 3, and there's nothing really suspicious about them. And on to the reference I was talking about. Dem, Maya, and Hala. Now, there's something very important about these three things. They are gate crystals and telepoints. Now, these telepoints can only be found in certain places. Now, the first three that we're talking about are the Dem Gate Crystal, the Hala Gate Crystal, and the Maya Gate Crystal. Now, these can only be found in the Craig of Dem, Craig of Hala, Craig of Maya. But another crystal here that you want to pay attention to is Zvahl's Gate Crystal, and its telepoint is found in Xcarabard. And remember from our backstory of Zeid, they talked about Xcarabard. Xcarabard is actually another location in Final Fantasy, and I'm trying to look for it. Yeah, this is a picture of Xcarabard in Final Fantasy XI. Now, as you can tell, it's really just a snowy area, but if you've seen Minecraft Diaries, you will know that this area sort of looks a little familiar to the terrain of the island that Travis came from. So, then again, we already know that Travis is already involved in some way. Travis has a different persona. Travis, at one point, he'll be his typical self, wanting to get close with Caitlyn, but he's also caring at the same time. But, as you saw in Mystreet Season 5, I believe they were on a boat, and Travis had immediately a different persona enacted in him, and his eyes turned to a different color. And I believe this eye color was, I guess, like a purplish black. And, Caitlyn began to open up to him for some reason, and when Travis snapped out of it, he didn't remember anything, which was kind of weird, in my opinion. And another thing about Xcarabard is that Xcarabard leads to this place. And if you see the castle of Zvahl, Zvahl is actually the last name of Lawrence, who hasn't shown up in a very, very long time. And I remember at one point people were making jokes that, I guess Lawrence fell through a hole, as you guys saw in Minecraft Diaries Season 2, he fell through a hole. But, yeah. And it says here, the Castle of Zvahl Baileys is a dungeon area in Final Fantasy XI. The dark twisting towers of Castle Zvahl stands atop the frozen western peak of Xcarabard. Adventurers must traverse the Castle Zvahl Baileys upon entering the Dark Fortress, which was the headquarters of the Shadow Lord and his beastmen army during the Crystal War. Many adventurers have lost themselves in the dark, twisting corridors of the Castle of Zvahl Baileys. Those who are lucky enough to survive Castle of Zvahl Baileys will find themselves in the Castle of Zvahl Keep. Now, I get how this is referring to the Shadow Lord. Zvahl is the last name of Lawrence, and Lawrence ended up becoming a Shadow Knight in Minecraft Diaries in Season 1. He stayed behind in the Nether to protect and give time for Aphmau and Castor to leave the Nether so they could escape. Now, this does make sense as to why they probably had Lawrence become a Shadow Knight, because the castle did have something to do with the Shadow Lord at one point. And now, going back to the comment, actually no. These gate crystals, Zvahl, Maya, and Zvahl, and I also noticed that Zvahl and Zvahl's, if you really replace the Z with the V, you get that same name. So I wonder if that was just something the game made intentionally. But then again, I am not sure about that. But there is something involving the Zvahl gate crystal, the Maya gate crystal, and the Dem and the Hala gate crystal. And if we take a look at this right here, it says Hala, Dem, Maya, and Zvahl are named after the mother crystal their telepoint is located at, while Yohartor, Altepa, Junger, Pashhau, and Merfutad are named for the respective zones that they reside. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing these names right. I haven't played the Final Fantasy game, so I don't know how they're pronounced. So, those 4 crystals have something in common, and the many have already left the academy. I feel like this academy that they're talking about is probably someplace where they're studying about that comet. And speaking of studying and research, Maya and I will not give up our studies on Anima manipulation. Now, I'm not sure if Anima manipulation is related to Final Fantasy. I've heard that it is, but I checked on the Wikia, and I have a feeling that Wikia isn't really reliable because it's a form of Wikipedia, to be honest. So people can automatically change that information or leave out information. So I don't know if Anima manipulation is directly related to Final Fantasy, but Anima manipulation is in another game called StarCraft. And fun fact about Anima manipulation is that it can do this. The user can analyze, shape, and manipulate the essence, the attribute, or set of attributes such as that make an entity animal, human, or a supernatural creature, etc., or substance/matter, whatever it fundamentally is, and which it has been by necessity, and without which it loses its identity. They can manipulate genetics, spiritual essence, including genotype, which can make the entity in any way that they can make it better. They can even influence the essence of dead organic matter to reconstitute that being and bring them back to life. The user can change the essence of the target's soul in any type of different soul, like of a different species or that of a different entity or individual. Some users are advanced enough to manipulate the essence of even supernatural beings. Deciphering, altering, recombining, and hybridizing their specific attributes and with that of others, allowing the creation of optimized brand new entities endowed with incredible levels of power. And there's more to this. And or never seen abilities. They can change one's attribute to a different nature in order to avoid oncoming attacks. Example, if someone was about to be hit by a darkness ball, the user can change their attribute to darkness in order to be protected from the darkness ball and completely unfazed. The user can analyze the essence of one's biology, DNA, life force, types of souls, and even powers. The user can then devise countermeasures such as counter powers, devices, etc. But as you know, to other things, there's limitations and things that can't be done. Some essences may prove too complex or alien for users to manipulate. through it may change eventually. Some users may not be able to manipulate certain types of essences depending on their field of expertise. Going back to this, I'm assuming that Maya and Dem were researching anima manipulation, but anima manipulation can be done by anyone. You just need to have an expertise in the type of biology. I'm trying to find the word for it, but they're trying to, I guess, manipulate the DNA of an animal or being that's out of their field of expertise. So that's why they're studying anima manipulation for some reason. They're trying to manipulate the DNA of a being that's probably out of most people's expertise range, possibly. And that's probably why they're researching it. And someday we'll find a way to protect our sun. So, protecting the sun, maybe anima manipulation has something to do with protecting their son. Like maybe they're trying to manipulate his DNA so that he can be protected, like such as, the power of light. It has the power to protect. They could give him some supernatural powers so that he can protect himself. And I forgot to mention this earlier with Hala, Maya, and Dem. I have a theory for those three. As you know, Zach and Elizabeth were in another realm, but they escaped. And you know how Zach brought back Aaron's sword and gave it to Terry to hold on to. I have a feeling that maybe Dem and Maya were magic users or scholars at the same time in this prehistoric civilization, and maybe something happened to them when they died, possibly, that they could have, their souls or spirits could have been transformed into a crystal of some sort, and Zach may have brought them back with him when he escaped from that realm. And maybe him or Elizabeth or Terry might have them in their custody, or they might have held on to them for Zach, or it could have been possibly Michael. And we know that Michael is already the snake-eyed man. I believe that was already proven, but we don't know if Michael is a cover for Terry or it's just somebody else entirely different. Now, we know that Terry does have relations to Garte and Derek because, as you saw, if you watched the end of Emerald Secret all the way to the end, there was a flashback scene, and it showed that Garth, Aaron, and Travis met way before high school, when they were all kids. So that kind of shows that Garte and Derek knew Terry when their kids were really young and barely could remember anything. And that's it for the overall theory. I've said what I think is going to happen, and I have more things I want to analyze for you guys, and I have a feeling this video is going to be very long, because at one point I realized it was going to be like 17 minutes long, but